Alright, with the white pieces, I've been playing c4 because we get to basically practice our opening from the other side. Okay. Let's get all of our cursory moves in. E3, A3. This looks like a blunder to me. That's why I had my knight there. Okay. Queen takes B7. This could get real bad real fast. Well, that was quick, wasn't it? Okay, we didn't get much in the way of our opening here, but this is pretty much how we'd want the setup. B4, bishop B2, castle, maybe D3, H3. Nice setup. We didn't quite get there. It'll be obviously easier to explain with black, because with white, I'm just doing it because I think it's still instructive, but with the black pieces, obviously that's how you're supposed to actually play the opening. All right, we have F4. F4 I think is still reasonable to play C5. Obviously it's not E4, but it's quite possible that it transposes in some way. F4 and B3. Okay, I'm gonna stick with our setup. Remember, this is exactly what we saw just now from the white side, and we do see E4, so it does eventually transpose a little bit. So this would be an example of where I would say, okay, maybe it is useful to play the move D6 because the move E5 might be on the horizon for white. If I just play this, this, and this, then I'm not sure I enjoy the move E5. So D6 to stop E5. This is an example of when I would say that D6 might be kind of relevant. Knight here, bishop here, castle. Always taking with the queen. I know that doesn't look right, putting the queen like that, but always taking with the queen instead of the bishop or something else. C4 doesn't look right. But I'm actually not sure that I would... Yeah, I'm not even sure I would take that, by the way. Okay, knight f6, bishop e7. Let's continue. Again, e5, the bishop's hanging, so it's not really a threat, but that's why this move was just played. I think Buddy is looking to make a threat. However, it's just a little bit too late. I think we can take here, and we have d5 to solidify the knight. Also, queen b6 hits the rook. Queen e2, a good looking move because he's still maintaining the pin. However, the knight's not hanging. It's important to remember that. And queen to b6 hits the rook and hits this pawn. So I'm liking queen b6. That move is catching my attention. Ah, damn it. Not gonna win a pawn now. Ah, shucks. Well, that's annoying. I really wanted that thing. Yeah, I was actually threatening that, buddy. Let's give one more check. I'll take here. And what's the lay of the land after all the dust has settled? Oh, he doesn't even take it. A lot of things going untaken here. Well, it's worth it to save my knight, even at the cost of a pawn. Oh, there won't be the cost of a pawn. Even better. I'm liking this guy more and more every move. Our rook activates. It may have actually been a bad idea for him to do that. So let's give a check here. Bring another check in. Defend the bishop, and now I'm thinking of bishop f2. Couldn't do it right away because this was hanging. Still can't do it. But I'm not really one who's gonna say no to a trade of all things. Of course not. Let's bring the rook in. Check. Let's take this so nothing bad happens to good people. Check. Check. Oh, and almost a mate there. Almost a mate. He just needed one more second. Good game. This looks like maybe he's been watching Eric's speedrun. Can't hate on that. Little bird action. Now, once again, we got to play our opening. One of the things, as I mentioned, that causes me to play the move d6, as opposed to leaving it there, is actually whenever e5 is a threat, I feel the need to get the pawn up. Sometimes it's annoying to play knight f6 and then have to go like that. Still okay, but it's nice to just have this, so then if e5 happens, we take, and we're able to take our knight from here and bring it back to d7. So that's really why we moved the pawn. But this is our setup. You know, we bring the pieces like this, and we did this exact setup from the other side with white, so at least you should be getting very familiar with where the pieces belong. c4. d5 seems to be a very popular response, and just like a Sicilian, we're going to take this move, always. Oh, you're not going to see me say no to another tempo on the queen, that's for sure. No problem. I'm going to stick to our setup here. Our modest setup. Bishop e2, b4, bishop b2, right? We should be familiar with this. Knight e5. I think we can take this. It looks particularly tempting to take because the queen ends up on a square bishop's attacking. And now you should be running wild thinking about where can I move this knight to be most destructive. And this is protected. Meanwhile, the queen's attacked. So we end up winning the queen there, which is pretty nice. Takes maybe knight d5 afterwards. I almost feel like taking this is a little bit nicer. Hard to say though. We want a castle and we want to use the c file. Hitting the rook. Castling's important, but maybe there's a reason we want to get that rook down there ASAP. Rook c7 doesn't look great. We can take and then bring the rook down. And I'm kind of wondering how bishop e5 will go there. I do kind of like the idea of taking. Rook c7, bishop e5 does dissuade me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. So let's just go simple d4. And if castle, then rook c7 to force that bishop to maybe go somewhere it doesn't want to. Two bishops for a queen here. That's the material. Double up. I am gonna take the time to play, you know, the simple h3 pretty damn soon. And I'm always on the lookout for ways to simplify. So for example, one thing that I'm a big fan of is just moving this queen to c6 and taking on c8. Like, there's nothing simpler than this to me. What's gonna be left is me with 3 pass pawns and a rook, and my opponent with a bishop. That's way easier to navigate towards a win than any other position. So this just makes my job easy. I'm going all the way. I'm going all the way. That one's covered. Here I go. Let's go ahead and take that. There we go. And as long as we sort of stick to using these two pieces, I think we can deliver a mate. I see that the bishop is loose, but there's an easier path to victory. And it's right there. GG. What was this? Oh yeah. I mean, he moved the queen a lot. We kind of set up our pieces, played b4, bishop b2. This is like ideal Taimanov structure. But ultimately, he came up with another blunder, knight e5, and then stuff like this is pretty easy to do. e4, it's time for c5. Sicilian, baby. e6. This is what we want to be doing. And bishop c4, how common is this opening? I recommend starting with the pawns when people hit you with this. And of course, when they play d4, we want to take, but what I prefer doing is starting with e5. Because if they play bishop here, although they might be expecting you to capture, you can also hit them with c4. So, take. Start with the pawns. Whenever they play d4 and you're in your Sicilian, you always capture. The only reason I'm just holding off here is because I wanted to include b5 first. I was attacking the bishop, so I'm just going to capture the very next move, as I did. Queen takes never makes sense. You just attack it. Easy, easy. This move is very much in stride. I was going to play it anyway. Right? That's exactly where the knight belongs. Bishop b7. And where do we want the rest of our pieces? Queen c7, rook c8. Well, there you go. My queen's attacked. This is not going to be a tough move to play. It's just about knowing where your pieces belong. Okay. Do I consider long castle? Never. Not once. Now, some of you might be concerned about this. That's fair. But after we take back, we're going to have access to something very special. A dark squared bishop. Very special. That dark squared bishop on c5 is going to be worth a lot. So no, I'm not really concerned about this. I think we could use the g file, maybe push the h pawn, and so many nasty bishops pointed at that king. Bishop e7 is pretty much going to be my next move. Why did my opponent play this? Guess what? They want to play bishop here. That's obvious. They want to attack my queen. They want to dislodge it. So common. It's amazing how popular it has become to attack my queen on c7. It's, for some reason, it is like the favorite activity of my opponents. They get some sense of accomplishment every time they attack the queen. It's interesting. If his bishop was there, it would be better for him? Yes, that much is true. So for that reason, maybe white should be doing that plan. Not crazy. But, you know, even if he does that, he's still going to have to invest time to do it. My position is nice and simple. All my pieces have reached their, I would say, their starting square. Say. b4 looks like it kind of needs to happen. Don't want to let that happen. Knight c4, knight takes e4 looks fine. Honestly, this looks like a free pawn, but e4? How's e4? Yeah, it's making me think I want to play e5 here. Very unusual move, but for a pawn, I might do it. I would say in general, though, stay very, very cautious about that move. e5 is a move you want to be ultra careful playing in this opening. Because it gives you this weak pawn on d6. Obviously, there are moments where you can do it, moments where you can't. There'll be exceptions to the rule, but honestly, for the most part, I would steer clear of that. It's protecting this. Hitting the pawn. E4 is still attacked. And remember, we're up a piece here, so the hard part's already done. I would go h6 normally, but this loses a knight. Nicely done, and that was a real Sicilian there. Bishop to c4, such a common move. Hit him with the pawns first, don't bring your knight out. Most important first two moves. If your opponent's playing normally like this, you don't need a6 right away. The Taimanov is knight c6. But if they're playing this bishop c4 stuff, no d4, start with the pawns. It is very, very important. d5, they never want to go like that. So they move the bishop back, make sure to take. And then knight, bishop, queen, rook, knight, bishop. So that's the setup right there. And castle, of course. Just to give you an idea what a position might look like if they had taken, because, you know, this looks bothersome. It's actually a very good position. So I don't know what moves might get played here, but rook e1 looks reasonable. I would then go bishop to c5. Already after bishop c5, you know, my opponent could hit me with a4. We'd always hit them with b4. It's tough to find moves here for white, but like knight b3, we just move our bishop, right? Probably bishop back here. And I'm gearing up to play moves like rook g8. Right? After rook g8, if white plays g3, then already I can think of moves like rook takes g3. Right? Using this pin, the queen comes in. I have moves like knight e5. Moves like f5 to open up this bishop. Like, it's really nasty what can happen here. So, missing the dark square bishop. I probably want to put my dark square bishop on that diagonal. It's the most influential. And yeah, knight e5's in the woodwork. Rook over it. But this is such a strong, sturdy pawn mass that I'm really not concerned. No. Zeal, reading what you just wrote, actually, I felt myself almost vomit in my mouth. After bishop f4, d6, are we playing castles and f5? The answer would be no. Are we playing queen d7 and d5? The answer would also be no. So what do we want to do now? First of all, castles, yes. Maybe the rook can swing to d8 or e8, but I think castling and bringing the rook to the center is obvious. So the question is, what do we do past that? Well, h6 is always a nice move to play, but at some point, what I'm probably going to do is play knight d7, knight e5, or maybe just knight e5 straight away. I don't mind these double pawns always. It also opens pressure on c2. But something like knight g4, knight d7, swing a knight d5. Anytime this bishop trades for one of my knights, thumbs up for you. And maybe down the line, kind of depends what's happening. Maybe down the line, I might be looking to play e5 and then d5, just to fully expand the center. But there are a lot of small moves, I think, that are very useful for black's position. With the white pieces, we're going to be playing c4. So this is an example where, you know, the move e4 exists, so my instinct is to play d3, just to not deal with that. Okay, c5. I don't really need to answer the move c5 right now, but in general, I am kind of planning to play b5, but I don't really need to do anything about it right now, so let's move the rook. Queen c8. I think it is almost time for b5 here. Still, though, that's not really a threat. Yeah, but I'm going to stick to our plan here. We want to play b5, so d5 happens, and just like any Sicilian, when the move is played, take it. You do not ever want to deal with that. Takes. Knight takes, and now we have an option. We can take it, absolutely. We can also play knight e4. Both look kind of interesting. Knight e4 to play there, but after queen c7, we don't have that move, and f5 is coming. We want to make sure that we have enough squares for our pieces, so I'm going to take. I'm going to play knight back, so my knight has some really attractive squares. That is a big-time threat. Let's go defend it. And I'm liking this game because my opponent's playing well, but also I think we're seeing quite a few of the main ideas, at least in terms of rerouting middle game plans for the opening. These pawns are really solid here. This bishop keeps everything defended. Knight's gonna pop into c4. We want to play things like a4, a5. Okay, f5 played. Still don't really see big issue with f5, so let's make a threat here, knight d6. And if he takes, boy, am I happy to take over the light squares here. Feels good, man. g3, and I only have the confidence to play g3 because he just got rid of his light square bishop, right? Bishop g2 now is a fantastic follow-up move. And unfortunately, that one won't help you. I mean, you rerouted your queen, but you lost some stuff in the process. Still, I think he's played a good game here. Fork, rook d8 is kind of necessary. And I think one of the easiest things now is a4, a5, takes, and continue on. g5, is he threatening something? Not sure that he is, so I'm going to continue. Again, takes is the idea. Ooh, queen e8, that's interesting. Full marks for creativity there. Knight takes, hitting the queen, but it's hitting it twice. Queen c6 or queen c5 are my two moves here. I suppose objectively this one is kind of the best. But there's something a little bit nice about queen c6. I'm going to take the pawn. a7's hanging. e5's under pressure. And so rook takes, we would take that. Now the knight's hanging. Still pressuring that pawn. This has been a good game, though. Rook takes g7 should probably be enough, but the fact of the matter is bishop takes e5 is strong enough on its own. G and G. So this was great. I thought this was a really good representation of the Taimanov ideas. We played d3 mainly because of that being threatened. A lot of times when the center does not get clarified, this knight ends up rerouting. If you remember, I think Zeal, you were asking last game, what do we do in the middle game? And we were sitting here in this kind of position. I was saying, well, one of the ideas is knight here or knight here to go to e4. Same kind of thing here. We don't mind the trades in the center. Reroute the knight. Yes, there's a target here, but it's so easily defended like this. And this feels great because then the rook is open. And the knight comes to c4, e4 now. And I would have continued with a4, a5, basically. Okay, e4, c5, Sicilian time. That was a quick knight f3. And a quick d4. So we are getting the main line here of the Taimanov takes. And we never take this way to allow the queens to get traded. Absolutely not. Take with the b pawn. Immediate next move, d5. If he takes, we take with the c pawn. Are we afraid of this check? Absolutely not. This is helpful for us. Our bishop did not look too great. How do we develop? Easy knight f6, easy bishop e7, and easy short castle. And look, it's move 12. We're the ones with the center pawns. This just looks like a nice, easy position to play. Success. Why am I bringing my rook here? Because guess what? These are the only two semi-open files for us, so it's most likely where we want our rooks to end up. h6 is another useful move as well. I do like h6. I'm gonna go ahead and play it. e4. Okay, well, let's challenge things a little bit with our a pawn. We're happy to get rid of our a pawn here. Just sitting all on its own, so the only pawns we have left are all connected. That's also a weakness there. On an open file as well. Rook c4 looks like a nice idea. So c2 is hanging. Rook c4 looks like it picks up this pawn. Many, many things to do here. I'm kind of liking rook c4. But who am I kidding? Who am I kidding? That's a free pawn. I'll take this. The question was, do I want rook c4 and win this pawn, or rook takes c2? And it's very hard to say because I'll probably end up winning both of them, so. Rook c4. Both of these pawns are in trouble after a move like queen a4, for example. Bishop back to d2 is interesting. I'm not going to do anything crazy, just going to go all the way back. Rook to a4 looks like it puts a lot of pressure on that pawn. Well, I can't say this move looks the scariest. It's like you get one single check. That's it. Not that impressive of a sacrifice, I have to say. Let's offer a queen trade, mainly because I know he can't accept it. He just sacked a bishop, so if he trades queens now, that wouldn't make any sense. Rook takes a3 is coming. And we can take it. We have our queen recapturing, and then remember, we have our bishop behind that on e7, covering our queen. And he's doing the right thing. He doesn't want to trade queens, so he's like trying to figure out a way how to keep the queen on the board. Might be able to do it, but objectively, he realizes the game is pretty much lost. So nice fight. I thought he did play some really good moves. I'm gonna play here because it pins things and wins things. It pins it and it wins it. More work to do, but you know, every loss means more time to look at the actual games. More games, more of a sample size to get familiar with the system. 200 IQ by notorious streamer Amon Hambleton. Wanting to make sure that the people in chat were able to get familiar with topical ideas like A3, B4, C5, winning a piece. We wouldn't get this type of instruction if we had won that game. We wouldn't. That's the truth. That is the truth. Okay, bishop here. H3. I'll offer a trade because I'm up a lot of material. I'm already up a piece in this game, so the game will look a little bit different from maybe how we might normally play it. But for the most part, I think our setup is standard. Queen here. E6 we could take. It's castle. Trades I'm never truly gonna shy away from. Not in this case. We're up material. Full extra piece, so all trades are good. Hey, you're right about that, Josh. No lies told. Take this. I think queen f5. This prepares knight g4. And, you know, queen takes g7. That's a long-range bishop. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. But if it's anything like last game, we're about to be impressed. And yes, we are. You totally saw it. People are getting wise. I want to play rook here, but again, he's prepared for that one too. Maybe unintentionally, but he's still prepared for it. Can't take any credit away from these guys. Hanging in there, even scoring some dubs. He's gonna resign the game. Very principled. Rook d7 was playable, but okay. He's a man of principles. So you know what? I see you have me beat. That's enough for me. That's enough for me. If he took, by the way, I would take with the queen, play b4, bishop b2, and again, stick with our exact same setup. But because we won a piece, I just wanted to do trades and keep things simple. I can confidently say that this right here, especially with the Sicilian on the line, is the game that we need for 800. Can we do it? The ever elusive 800 elo. Okay, a6, e5, right? Familiar setup. d4, we always take that. Always, always, always. Bishop b7. This is, and when they capture here, take back with the queen. Might look funny, saying why not pawn, why not bishop? Queen. We want to be here. Okay, I'm very excited to see this. So far, I would say we've gone the furthest down on actual theory path. Of course, it's not theory because white played d3 and then d4 in this game. Right? And then played it. So, of course, white's going to be down a move. But it's still pretty good to pay attention to this stuff. So, oftentimes you will see this and you're thinking to yourself, okay, but wait a minute. The pawn is going to end up on e5. And we're not going to be able to do anything about that. Now, yes, the answer is absolutely e5 will happen. No, you don't need to do anything special about that. Just play rook c8. When e5 happens, just take a step back. And if the trade happens, take, and this is the position you want. This is like ideal Taimanov position. Rook's in a great spot. Queen's in a great spot. b4 already dislodges the knight backwards, maybe to a square doesn't want to go to. But we can start to place our pieces on squares like f5, knight e7. I want to be careful because if the knight was on e4, knight d6 would be the most nasty thing you could deal with. Bishop here, I don't mind h6 because that looks pretty nice, right? h6. If you want to take me, go ahead. It's like that only helps me develop. Queen e2. So this is the closest that we maybe will ever get, but no, that we've gotten so far to a theoretical position. Speaking of theory, I'm a little bit interested in rook c4 and rook c8, so that's probably going to be my next move. Rook c4 here, hitting the knight, and although knight d6 is tempting, I'm ready to capture it right away. We're looking to put pressure on these two pawns. What move does it? That's right, queen c7. So queen c7, queen c6, rook c8 is a great looking move. b4 as well, to just hammer home the pressure on the c-pawn. So I'm liking the doubled rooks on the c-file. Let's continue that pressure with the move b4. Probably needed to take there, so a little bit of a mistake. But this has been a truly enjoyable game because, look, if you were only going to watch one game, this whole series so far, this would be the one that I would argue you could learn the most from, or showed the most. Okay, rook here, our trusted square. There's stuff hanging here. Knight there. I mean, I think we could go back, but honestly, I'm thinking let's just trade the queen, go to an endgame. He might play queen g4. He might. There's still hope for a queen g4 move. You're not wrong. You have a check. Maybe we can set up like bishop, sacrifice. I'm getting optimistic here. 7.8 seconds. Tensions are high. What's he gonna come up with? It's a pretty damn good move. Like, holy hell. Queen f3. My goodness. Color me impressed. Color me impressed. Oh, hey, you hung your rook. This actually works no matter what, because bishop e7 is mate. Ah, that's really great. I wish that he would have played rook d2, because then it would have been rook takes h2, Rook here, bishop e7. So it's like, it's a nice checkmate you can even do with pre-moves. Of course, I have no idea, like, if I play bishop e7 or rook there, which one he's going to cover. But you start with this one, and then you're guaranteed to get that one. Forced mate, yes. Always a pleasure. I do want to point out, in all seriousness, if you want one game to remember from this speedrun, it's this one. This looked the most like a position, like a theoretical position. You could even get, like, this was my favorite. I've seen this position before. Obviously, black's much better here, but this is the exact demonstration of, like, black's better. I'm definitely outplaying him, but he's not making massive mistakes that are easy to capitalize on. So I definitely think this was a great example of, yeah, you're better, yeah, you're outplaying, but there's still a lot of work to do. So you got to see all the ideas at play. How do you handle the middle game? Even though this pawn looks like a weakness, there are, there's easy pressure you can create against these queenside pawns. Bishop is super comfortable, king is castled safely, and don't be scared of this. If they're gonna play e5, just step back. The trade is good. Your queen is actually such a nice piece on b7. It's basically fianchettoed as well. It supports the b pawn. It covers e4 for the knight. Watches this pawn. There's so many things the queen does well from b7. So really, really nice feeling when you get it there. Later on, I think, in an endgame or something, I might play d6 to get rid of that pawn. But as you saw, I literally worked around it the entire time. So the Taimanov is an interesting Sicilian because you don't even play d5, you don't even play d6 sometimes, and you leave the d pawn at home. And so if you actually pay attention to this game, what's crazy is I didn't move the d pawn the entire game. He ended up taking it, which ultimately got him checkmated, but it's funny, I didn't move it the entire game, and that's pretty much what the Taimanov's all about. Not moving that d pawn, so you have the flexible bishop. You don't even waste the move playing it. You work around it. And it is a little unusual, which is why I'm hoping the series will kind of clarify. But yeah, later on, we can play d6. It's not like d6 is a bad move, but you'll notice in this game, I was able to work around it and still make do. Glad you enjoyed it, Java Bandit. We wouldn't have got this instructive game if we didn't lose the other one, so the universe works out as it should. Thank you, Ya928, for the 100 kick subs. Again, appreciate it. Do we still have the Battle of My Cock in the chat?